After the unveiling, the sculptor Ian Rank broadly spoke about the process, and we can hear a bit of that now.
Uppermost in my mind was, in fact, to actually do something for the princes. I mean, you know, for all that the princess was a very public figure and in many respects an icon, but she was somebody's mother. So I paid the greatest heed to both princes and what they had to say. And in many ways it was a collaborative effort. They made a huge contribution. And in many ways I could say that the sculpture belongs to them as well. They helped make it. Well, I think why this differs from other royal sculpture, and particularly statues, is that it is much less formal. If you think of, you know, Sir Thomas Brock's statue of Queen Victoria outside Buckingham Palace, or even much later, George V's statue near Parliament, these are very formal images. They're on plinths, and I think here we have something which again is very formal, which is very accessible, which is not really on a plinth, it's just a series of steps. So again, I think it's much more approachable, and it relates very much to how the princess was in real life. The fact that their mother is there, you know, in a real physical sense. Perhaps, you know, in the evening when, you know, the grounds are shut, they could easily come here for a moment of quiet reflection, and I hope that would give them some sort of comfort or solace.
Ian Rank broadly there. Let's go back to the panel now. Robert, the involvement of the princes, very interesting, but obviously their working together was before this grand falling out. What's your take on how that process must have been?
Well, I was interested to hear the suggestion there that maybe they even got too involved. I mean, he slightly stated between strained teeth, didn't he? Collaboration. Well, as if that wasn't usual in clients. And so I think that again must temper our view of that statue. I would, I would agree with Richard. It's a bit Madame Tussauds. I mean, but who at the end of the day can say definitively what a statue should look like? I take heart and interest from the fact that it clearly represented what these two young men wanted to present to the world. And we can like it or not, but that's their vision of their mother. I
mean, the phrase too many cooks does spring to mind when you hear about how collaborative the process was. But I think, when you're talking about an iconic figure like Diana, they couldn't possibly have just left it to artistic interpretation, could they?
I suspect the collaboration involved in commissioning and organising this sculpture was the easy part, because that was before they fell out, really.
Yeah,
What's been hard is the organisation of this event. You know, my goodness, we've heard, stories about, Meghans going to come or she's not going to come, Harry's going to bring Archie, this type of thing. It must have been a nightmare from start to finish. So I think
yes, and there was the plan that we were talking about. They were going to give separate speeches. A week ago, we were all told separate speeches.
Yeah, that got canned.
Well, very sensible of them, and how sensible and symbolic to have a joint written statement.
Well, I wonder how many drafts have been thrown out. You might find they've written...
Well, again, that was an extremely short statement. No room for interpretation, no room for nuance, no room for anybody getting upset about this word or that word.
I'll try and find out, but I suspect they both wrote speeches which, have been thrown out over the years. Because we've seen them give speeches about Diana that were very different in the past. So
definitely, and one noted, didn't one, when the Dyson report came out, William got straight in there with what he wanted to say, and then Harry had his version. And Harry actually contradicted William. He said, it's not just about the BBC, it's about all media. So I think they were wise to avoid two separate tributes.
That is Harry's tune, isn't it? All media. I mean, part of the problem, do you think, Robert, is all of this discussion detracts from the fact that this is supposed to be an unveiling of the People's Princess. There's been actually not that much discussion about her in all of this.
Oh, I disagree there. I think, it's been striking, I think, the number of documentaries on television about Diana. Young people saying to me, I didn't know that about her. I didn't realise she was such a significant figure. I'm involved in The Crown, and, people are watching season 4 of The Crown. Kids are looking at their Wikipedia to say, I know everybody's saying, is the Crown true or not? But, did this really happen? And this nice old lady, Camilla, look at the vamp she was and the role that she played.
It's fascinating. Now, I do want to bring up this thing that I mentioned earlier, Diana sort of asking her sons to promise to always be best friends. What do you make of how she would feel?
It's in my book. I don't know if anyone else has ever got it. I was told that by her friend Simone Simmons, her healer, her friend, and she has a very clear memory of Diana actually staging what was almost a little ceremony and saying to the two boys, look, and you know, maybe Simone's being a bit wise after the event. I mean, Diana
How old were they?
They were then, this is about 2 years before she died. So they,
Okay,
you know,
so old enough.
yes,
yeah.
oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And saying it is so important in the future that you stick together and you are each other's best friends. And will you promise that? And they did, and they sort of high-fived, apparently. Then they went out and played soccer. And I think until the rift happened, you would say there was a definite feeling of cohesiveness. You know, you look at their two weddings, exactly the same guest list virtually. And then there's something else I'd say that, you know, there has been the war, but it hasn't been like the War of the Waleses, when you had people like Fatty Soames slagging off Diana in public. None of, the Friends have taken sides and they sympathise with their respective prince, but they never speak on the record and scarcely off the record against the other one. And the Friends I've spoken to have this sense of sadness, despair almost, you know, the fact that at the funeral they were hoping for so much. And then they apparently get at each other's throats the moment they're off camera, which does show what good performers they are.
Well, it's interesting. Before you go, I do want to ask you a few questions about this updated book. Just keep that on there again. Battle of Brothers, out now. How much did you find had changed?
Well, I was both lucky, and I'll take credit for getting one good source who helped me at the very beginning of the book about the row between the brothers when William asked Harry to go slow, just as, of course, he effectively auditioned Catherine in their long courtship.
For many years.
For many years. And Harry said, why the hell should I do that? You know, you've got duty, I've got love. And then, yes, it was a stroke of luck. I was just getting towards the end of finishing this paperback version when the Times came out with their bullying revelations. And this friend of mine was talking to William and just dared to venture to mention what was going on in the Times. And William said to my friend, that's what it's all about. He said, you know, we did have a bit of a row, well, more than a row, over the courtship. But it was 5 months after the wedding. I got presented by Jason Knauf, the communications guy, who until then was entirely Meghans' man and fighting her corner with these allegations. We have to stress the allegations of bullying. And I exploded and phoned him up, and he slammed the phone down. I went round to argue with him. And that's when I said, I don't want him in my household anymore. So that was the scoop, if you like, that I got and put in the updated version of this book.
And of course, the counter-argument to that is it's a smear campaign against Meghan.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, it's very interesting, the timing. What do you think? It's very interesting, the timing of those revelations or allegations.
Well, look at the facts that here is one of the most litigious couples in the world. You know, anything they don't agree with, immediately they're sending furious lawyers' letters. Well, they haven't taken any legal action against the Times over the bullying allegations. That's all still on record. So I think that says a lot.
Although I'd add something else there. I mean, I don't think it's a secret. It took about 4 or 5 days for the Times to get that out because they were processing it through the Sussex lawyers, as it were. I mean, they wouldn't want to run anything without clearing it with shillings, they call it. So, you know, what we've read there in the Times and what has since been reproduced is legally safe. I mean, shillings, like it or not, have had to agree that what's there can't be argued with.
What do you think, how much water do you think this narrative holds that, you know, there are those people who think that it's Meghan's got such a hold over Harry, Meghan's pulling all the strings, Meghan is manipulating him to sort of like, you know, be ostracised from his family, she's causing the rift. What's your view on that?
Well, as someone from the palace might say, I know nothing to guide you in any other direction. I mean, you know, I don't know anything. But I don't know of anything that contradicts that particular picture. I don't know about you, Richard.
I think it's a bit unfair because I think that Harry, Meghan came at the right time for him. That he sort of wanted to escape. He was he'd been keen to marry his two previous girlfriends, frankly, and he was very keen to have children. He actually spoke about that openly. So he really sort of wanted to be safe. So I don't think he needed that much manipulation or encouragement.
And he's spoken about it himself. He himself has said, I don't like this word Mexit because it was my decision.
Yeah.
I take that at face value as well. Yes.
Do you see any path forward to a meaningful reconciliation?
Not the, embracing reconciliation we perhaps would like to imagine. I mean, let's not forget there is a distinction between working members of the royal family and blood members. It's not as neat as everybody's been saying for the last year. You're either in or you're out. Because, Harry spent a year negotiating how to be out, and then he's signed the deal, he's free, but the very first interview he gives makes clear that he's in, because the moment he says anything, he's saying it as a royal person. So, as somebody from the palace said to me, there's sharing and there's oversharing. And I think when he's got that balance right, then maybe there'll be some way ahead. But the other aspect, of course, is that it's very difficult for these two brothers to negotiate any sort of settlement, while William is fearing that what he says to Harry will be passed through Oprah or Gayle King or one of those other American sources.
It's Scobie, your best friend.
Whatever discussions they've had between, Harry and William, whether it's about the football or whatever, while Harry's been here, they won't have been very serious. I mean, William knows there's no point, without Meghan being there, there's no point in discussing anything serious because it will have to go through her anyway.
I mean, the thing to look at is we've all been looking forward to the statue unveiling and what that's going to bring, and I think we've seen it now. The next thing to look at is who's going to be on the Jubilee balcony next year. I mean, there will be 2 Jubilee balcony occasions, this time, a bit before this time next year, June. I understand, I don't think it's any secret, the Queen has made it clear that she's inviting the Sussexes, the whole family.
Well, that was the last occasion, Robert. See
yes,
here.
There we are.
Was that 2019?
Yes,
that was the last time they were on the balcony.
So will we have Lily and Archie down here next June? That'll be the test of it.
I hope so, because we want to update our photograph, you see.
That's all we have for you on our YouTube show. But to see the rest of this episode, including some more fascinating royal revelations, head to www.mailplus.co.uk/royals or click the link on screen now.